What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? Noah Gray here, tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Josh's channel and check out showmefootball.com for more.
What is up, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to another video on my channel. My name is Josh Fan of showmefootball.com and arrowheadaddict.com, covering your Kansas City Chiefs. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about the Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver situation following the NFL draft and a potential name that they could look at to add late in the offseason as a veteran addition to this wide receiver room. I am a firm believer in the idea that the Kansas City Chiefs still should and probably need to add a veteran wide receiver to this group. I just think when you look at what they've added, you added a rookie in Xavier Worthy, who I think will be able to help quite a bit as a rookie, but is more of a move for next year as he learns behind Hollywood Brown. Rashee Rice, we don't know what his availability looks like for 2024 quite yet, and I think you maybe need to sign some insurance to ensure that you're not lacking that wide receiver room. Once again, I think you also just need a veteran to push Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney and those bottom of the depth chart guys. I mean, let's face it, this was the worst wide receiver room in the league last year. You want to make sure that that never happens again and that Patrick Mahomes has a good set of weapons to work with. So if I'm the Chiefs, I'm looking at all avenues to add talent. And one avenue that I'm looking at that has kind of developed here late in the offseason is the potential addition of Tennessee Titans wide receiver Treylon Burks. So if you guys don't remember, Treylon Burks was the 18th overall pick in the 2022 NFL draft by the Tennessee Titans, and he's kind of struggled his first few years in the league. As a rookie, Treylon Burks had 33 catches for 440 yards and 1 touchdown, and then last year his production took quite a dip. He didn't take a step forward like a lot of Titans fans were hoping. He only had 16 catches for 221 yards and 0 touchdowns. And then, of course, you look at what the Titans have added over the past couple years. They signed DeAndre Hopkins last year as a free agent. And then this year they made a huge splash for free agent wide receiver Calvin Ridley, who was probably the top wide receiver on the free agent market. And then they made a pretty big addition here late in free agency as they have signed former Cincinnati Bengals wide receiver Tyler Boyd. And because the Tennessee Titans have stacked so much wide receiver talent on top of Treylon Burks, a lot of people are starting to think that he could be on the trade block and that his seat is getting pretty hot. And in fact, I saw an article from the Draft Network, and this was by Justin Mello, and he writes 3 teams that should trade for wide receiver Treylon Burks, and one of 3 teams that he mentioned was the Kansas City Chiefs. His excerpt that he wrote is, the Chiefs traded up for Xavier Worthy in the 2024 NFL Draft. They also signed Marquise Hollywood Brown in free agency. This wide receiver room still possesses a ton of question marks despite Brett Veach's aggressiveness. Recent reports indicate Rashee Rice could be facing a lengthy suspension following an off-field incident involving a vehicle. There'd be no better place for Burks to breathe life into his faltering career than Kansas City, where an opportunity to play with Patrick Mahomes would be enticing. With Rice potentially out of the picture for the half of 2024 campaign, Burks could push Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney for number 3 duties. And I really cannot agree more with what Justin had to say about the current state of the Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver room. I think Brett Veach has done a good job adding talent to this room, adding speed once again, but when you look down the depth chart, the depth is kind of shaky for this team. They're an injury away from being in a similar situation to last year, and I just think it would be the safe move to go ahead and add another veteran, and they have an opportunity to do that here with Treylon Burks. I don't think he would cost more than a 6th or a 7th round pick. This is a guy that the Titans have all but given up on, really, and I know what people's immediate reaction is going to be. Hey, we've done this before. We did this with Kadarius Toney. It's another Kadarius Toney, but I'm still never going to fault Brett Veach for taking swings on guys like this. Former first-round picks. Treylon Burks was one of the top wide receivers in his class a few years ago. And I do think that if you put him in the slot and keep him in the slot, that he can be very good in the NFL as a slot receiver. And that's kind of where Rashee Rice plays, and that's what a lot of people are also going to point out, is that he'd kind of overlap with Rashee Rice. But I also think this is a move that you're making for insurance purposes, or to give Rashee Rice a breather, or if Rashee Rice misses time due to suspension, which seems pretty likely, you're going to want someone who can step in. And Treylon Burks, I think, can do a little bit of that, and he has a higher ceiling, in my opinion, than, Sky Moore or Kadarius Toney, I think he has a higher ceiling, but he just has not shown enough yet. I mean, even Treylon Burks in his rookie year did more in a season than Kadarius Toney has done yet, so this wouldn't be quite the same as Kadarius Toney. I think Treylon Burks is somebody that could give you a few hundred receiving yards in this offense, and that's not much, but when you're talking about giving up a 6th or 7th round pick for a guy, I don't see a problem with that. You're bringing in a guy that can be your wide receiver 4 or 5 once Rashee Rice comes back and just provide general depth. I also think there's a lot of value adding a guy like Treylon Burks, who's a little bit bigger. He is 6'2", 225 pounds. You have a smaller wide receiver room with Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown, and then even Rashee Rice isn't the biggest guy, and he's more of a power slot. Treylon Burks, I think when you bring him in, if you bring him in, the hope is you can kind of revitalize his career in this offense, playing with a good quarterback and an offense with a head coach that knows what he's doing on the offensive side of the ball. See if you can kind of get some out of him, rejuvenate his career, and then maybe he could expand on the outside even a little bit too, because I think the way for Treylon Burks succeeding in the NFL was putting him in the slot, and I think the Titans tried to do a little bit too much with him instead of just keeping him in the slot where he was always meant to play, in my opinion. And so I would really love this if the Kansas City Chiefs brought him in on a cheap veteran flyer. I think you're just trying to add as much talent as possible here at this point in free agency, or at this point in the offseason. I say free agency. Treylon Burks isn't a free agent. This would be a trade. But it seems pretty clear that the Chiefs aren't all that interested in the veteran free agent wide receiver market because OBJ has gone off the board, Tyler Boyd has gone off the board, those kind of guys, and the Chiefs just haven't really shown all that much interest. But I could definitely see Brett Veach taking another signature swing on a high upside former first round pick kind of guy like Treylon Burks, who has shown some things, and he seems to have pretty good speed, pretty good burst. 6'2", 225 pounds, runs a 4.5 40. That's pretty dang good for a guy his size. I would like this. I just think he hasn't been able to find his stride in Tennessee. He's played with some pretty bad quarterbacks too. So if I was Brett Veach, I would be calling Tennessee and seeing what they would want for a guy like Treylon Burks, as it seems that they're not too interested in giving him any real snaps anymore with the amount of wide receivers that they have brought in. I think Tyler Boyd was kind of the nail in the coffin there. Tyler Boyd was a guy I would have liked to see the Chiefs bring in, but we know that the Chiefs like youth and potential, and Treylon Burks would fit the bill of youth and potential, and I do think there is still quite a bit of potential here. Things have just not worked out in Tennessee, but there were some things to like out of Treylon Burks' rookie season, so I would go ahead and bring him in. I really like this. I want to know from you guys, though, would you be interested in the Kansas City Chiefs bringing in Tennessee Titans wide receiver Treylon Burks in a trade? Let me know down below. With all that being said, make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this, and make sure you check out my work on ShowMeFootball.com and ArrowheadAddict.com for more. I'll see you all in the next one. Go Chiefs!